All right, welcome back. So next in the series, here, I'm gonna lean on the clean side. We're having some fun, so I appreciate the comments. You know, we're really doing something I think that's unique and different. I don't think anybody else is exposing, to the general public what this is really all about and the pros and cons, and yeah, it's expensive, and yeah, it's time consuming, but it's all relative. This is what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to make pretty videos that are entertaining, and there are other places to go to see that. We're trying to show you how this actually works as we have experienced it, or as I have experienced it. And it's revolutionary from my perspective, having come from the farming, trucking, marine. I mean, I came to Florida from Iowa in 1992, the day after Hurricane Andrew, and bought boats from insurance companies. And that required me to clean those boats. And gosh, if you meet my wife someday, ask her what she thought about cleaning a total sinker boat that had oil and barnacles and nasty stuff in it. So yeah, we've been cleaning and doing crazy stuff all of our careers together, and we enjoy it because the finished result is what's fun. So what you're going to see here is 90% when I get all the big stuff off a car. That's where the fun really starts. That's where I really get to go true OCD and get really detailed with it. So there's still some stuff that's not to my standard yet, but we're getting close. And you're gonna see like super gloss, super high-end finishes that are factory. This was torture. I mean, torture. God bless BMW. They put something on this trailing arm that was like, I don't even know what it was. I got it off and I realized it's probably going to get replaced, but this isn't about efficiency. I'm not doing this series and Matt's car to be efficient or fast. A lot of people ask how long is it going to take, what's going to cost. The general sense of the 20 or so operators that we put in business for 2 years is about $250 to $300 an hour, depending on your location. So, you can blow through and do a single stage clean in 5 to 10 hours, but it's not going to be to the level that I appreciate and enjoy. The clients that I previously worked for, because I don't do this for hire anymore, I do it because I want to teach people and show them how to do it. But when I did that, they always got more than I charged them because I just wanted to see how far I could push it. So Matt's getting the same thing, and I appreciate it. We're going crazy with it, so look forward to it. All right, so I want to point out some fine details, and Mike's going to zoom in on those, and then he's also going to capture the counter where we haven't touched anything on the other side, and I think you'll really appreciate the significance of the way stuff looks. It's just so fantastic that these finishes exist under the dirt, and they're preserved so well. The half shafts, these are awesome. I mean, they have to be powder coated. I mean, it's a high finish, and that's a critical part about what we do. If you went into the other side where the dirt is now, and you wanted to attack that with an alternative or traditional process, you're likely going to scratch that finish, because you might pressure wash some of it off, but you're not going to get all the cosmoline off, if any, unless you start employing chemicals, and those chemicals could have a derogatory effect to the finish as well. So the beauty in dry ice cleaning over chemicals, pressure washer, air, steam, it's not abrasive. It doesn't affect the finish. So you get the ink mark. See, there's a little green mark right on this. Let's turn this a little bit. There's a nice original green paint mark on this half shaft. I don't really care if Matt's going to replace this. It's not about that. But it's about maintaining all of the original finishes where and whenever we can so that the car looks original. Look, the car's up to 1970 and 80, like back to 1900, 1800s to 1970 and 80. You can nut and bolt restore those cars pretty effectively. And there's thousands of companies and people that have done that. These cars are going to be more challenging. And every iteration after the 90s, what I call the young timer or the Radwood cars, they're even more progressively difficult because of the technology, the electronics, the unique, where are you going to get some of this stuff 40 years from now? So I'm very passionate about maintaining these cars in their original form, not taking them apart. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with taking cars apart, but I can just assure you, if you disassemble this entire subframe, pull the axle, pull the exhaust down, all those things, if you do that, there are going to be, for the highest level of interest, there are going to be witness marks, because we're not perfect as human beings. If I can clean this so that it doesn't require me to remove bolts and struggle with maybe pressing out bushings, even if the bushings are dry rotted, of course, if you're going to drive the car, you got to do it. But I will tell you, it's not going to be that easy in the future. So the other beautiful part about super clean like this, when you take your car somewhere and have anybody do anything to it, they're going to care for it a lot more. If you turn this over here to the dirty side, if you turn this car over to have someone replace your half shaft and it looks like that, they might even get a torch out if they have trouble with a bolt. They see this, they're going to be scared. Like, I got to be careful. I don't want to mess this guy's car up. So I have always tried to, when I was going to have my car serviced in any way or anything, I always tried to make sure that it was clean so that people would care about it more as opposed to it being dirty. So this was, you guys are really going to make fun of me. To get this trailing arm clean took me 2 hours. And I would never charge a client, the $250 to $300 an hour to clean this one trailing arm. Even if you couldn't get it anymore, I wouldn't charge them that. But it was a personal challenge that at my stage of my life and career, I took on, and I did it. Don't have any misgivings about that. Just love the cadmium, love what we got going on with all of the converging finishes, the rubber. There's no way that you can make rubber products look so consistent and dry any other method. I've been trying for 50 years. First thing I ever washed was a 6 horsepower wheel horse lawnmower that my dad put me on. You just cannot create this kind of effect any other traditional way, especially like this. I love it. So this is rubber and plastic. Plastic? Actually, it's all plastic. I thought it was rubber. So this piece, Michael's going to capture this piece versus the other side, and then that texture inside. And this is actually got cast purple or techno-violet into this section, and it's clean, and it's actually glossy. On the inside of the wheel well, you're going to see this is squeaky clean in there. All these cadmium bolts they're just beautiful. I love the M imprint on the, geez, Mike, what did I do here? This is a trailing arm, right? Mm-hmm. What's this?
That's a lower control arm.
There you go. See, what do I know? Lower control arm, so I got to get this stuff down. Oh, that's funny. All right, so poly fuel tank, we talked a little bit about that. So here's clean, but I treated this purely experimental. I treated this side with OSPO, what I told you about before that we use for doing the exhaust. And it's a beautiful treatment. It's dry. Nothing comes off of my hand. It just finishes it off. It takes that dry look off. So that's some of the handwork that I really appreciate and enjoy doing. So, here's our differences. We talked all about this. I think have to shoot this in all 4 directions while I was cleaning it. I think I was covering that. We want to capture and keep those misted paint finishes that came from the factory robots on that surface. So maybe I could use the big gun and clean that, and I might get away with it, but slow and steady wins the race. It just is more appealing to me, and I'm very generous when I was working for other people. Most of the 75 cars I've done were mine. I did for my own gratification and benefit, and if you go to our Bring a Trailer page where we've sold, I don't know, 50 or 60 vehicles, you'll see some of those cars, and people love them. You know, maybe they don't pay more for them. Most of them they did, but clearly they appreciate them and they like what we did to them. And there's definitely a runway and a space here for anybody that wants to be involved. And Matt and I are seriously working at solutions to have an entry-level opportunity. So just stay tuned on that, you know, patience, and we'll keep in the game here. But today, we're going to rip through this side. We're going to get the big gun out and see what kind of effect we can have on this and carry this look right on down the left side. So keep an eye on. Okay, so a couple things before I get started. I was bragging the other day, like on the first, I think it was the first video, I was bragging about how I kind of had mastered not getting the static discharge personally to my person, and I don't necessarily always have to hook up the static cord, the ground cable from the machine to the item or the vehicle. I got nailed the other day off camera. I actually wish it would have been on camera because it would have been entertaining, but it shocked the heck out of me. So there'll be none of that anymore. So the first thing I'm going to do is hook up the ground cable. I'll go to the back of the car so it's not in my way, but it's basically just a little copper cable. All right, so we won't have that trouble. Mask or no mask. I strongly recommend that when performing this work, you wear a mask. I have chosen not to wear a mask. I greatly respect the comments, and I think that if you're going to do the work a lot, you should wear a mask. It is too complicated for me for a number of reasons, and the conversation that I'm trying to have with you, although some of you might would prefer that there be less, I just can't do it. So we're going to use no mask, and I'm going to grab my big gun. We're going to purge to see if there's any water in there, and we're going to go to town here. Here's some Cosmoline, and it's a little tricky because if I go to a larger particle size, it'll take that off really fast. The risk is that I might puncture the finish here because I have some of that purple paint that's cast in, and I just don't want to take that chance. I'd rather spend a few minutes cleaning that off and blending simultaneously than risk going up in the particle size to make my life easier. It just puts too much risk on a high-level car that I believe and feel this is. All right, so there's two techniques. One is what you saw in the circular motions. The other is kind of like a painting technique where I'm consistently running across. I don't want to stop and create any obvious lines, so I'll consistently run across. When I get to the end of that stroke, I'll flip the gun and come back. It can be really tempting to want to stop and get that and wait. The problem is that it creates a different color, and we don't want that. So I gotta be patient and make my passes consistent so that I don't create a dissimilar color on the panel. Okay, so I noticed I was getting a little moisture. It's a pretty dry day today, fortunately, but I was getting some moisture. I'm like, that's odd. Didn't have my water catchment and desiccant dryer on, so won't have that problem anymore. And you'll notice too, this is great. You know, it's a nice big gun, a lot of flow. It's really cool, but it's unwieldy to get in the angles. So I'll get the bulk product off, then I'll get my precision gun out, and I'll go in and get those under the lines sections. So this is pretty common where we've got a coating. It's tan, there's some gray, and then there's the E-coat. It's the factory E-coat. It's tan here, so as we're cleaning this off, you can see that the Cosmoline is on the E-coat, but there's like a faint edge here. So once we get the bulk of this off, we'll use our precision gun and clean that up and make it look nice. So it's a galvanized panel, so we can turn things up a little bit and get aggressive on that. Not crazy, but that'll make that go a lot quicker. So I'm going to add a little volume, add a little size. So this is kind of nice because I don't have to worry about unusual colorations and changing the texture. It's just straight cleaning. It's like doing aluminum. You know, you can really enjoy that part of the process a lot more. We'll go ahead and get some of this textured stuff squared away here. So you may or may not notice I didn't go back and turn my settings down. So I just pulled back and gave myself more distance to limit the risk. So it's working. I'm going to keep going that way. So here you can see why I'm a fan of 2-post lifts instead of a 4-post lift with ramps. If I had a ramp going across here, how am I going to get this effectively in the position that I want to? So this is cleaning up really nice. So this is getting to the point where I'm about ready to get my small precision gun out because I don't want to, I got to go in different directions to get that dirt on the different mounds that it's, you know, on the face of this. Anytime you have texture, you have these challenges. You got to go from different directions to get all the dirt. So I'll go ahead and get this panel cleaned off here. So it's a little, this is a part that's a little physically demanding. I'm working around the cameras and lighting, but you know, you're trying to hold sharp edges with like a fire hose and pressure and stuff, and so you always want to be careful. It's nice when you get to open areas like the transmission where you can just go to town. So I'm gonna make the left side of this transmission look like the right side. Poor Michael. I think he's gonna get sprayed. Gotta really be careful because above this exhaust system there's a really thin foil panel, and I got to be dedicated about my direction and strokes. I can't have any overspray that would hit that foil and just obliterate it. So if you know BMW transmissions, you know this is a VIN sticker, and I don't want this big gun anywhere near that. We're going to do that very carefully with the precision gun. So these are the sorts of things that if the company you've hired to clean your car doesn't know about this stuff, that thing's just going to disappear in a second. So I'm not going to go near that with this big gun. And this is what bothers me about using the big gun. There's just so much danger in using it. I like it because it's fast, but the risk is really high and hurting things that you don't want to hurt. All right, to get that other direction, we came at this direction. Now we're going to work our way back to panel from the other direction. And we're out of ice, so we short loaded the hopper about half. We're going to break for lunch. When we come back, we're going to show you, now that we've got all of the abrasive materials and dirt off, or most of it, we're going to do the precision gun, and then we're going to do some handwork and show you how this stuff really comes to life in that last phase. So stay tuned. One more thing. So let's see what we've created on the floor here. So this is just air. So, slightly in my defense, I have a wide open door at this end and a wide open door at this end. I have a fan blowing on me. That is probably the reason why, largely, I've not worn a mask. So, I don't want to debate anybody. I still recommend wearing a mask. I want to address something that comes up pretty regularly. Oh my goodness, you know, it looks really great. You're taking the dirt off, but you're also taking the protective coating or the Cosmoline, like this galvanized panel that we did earlier. So think about this for a minute. Do you think that protective coatings for automobiles, specifically the underbody, do you think they might have gotten better since 1996 or not? It would be my view that the multiple options that we now have for protective coatings is greater and better. So it is fair to say that it's time to understand what the client wants again. So if the client wants to drive this car, never. It's a garage or trailer queen for shows only. I wouldn't recommend coating it with anything. If the client's going to drive it occasionally, it might be good to preserve and treat the open metal places with either a clear or matte paint or coating or preservative. If they intend to drive it often or daily, there's hundreds of products that are as good or better than what was on this car originally. You can put it back on to protect the car. So it's a valid point and concern. I understand it. But I think the mitigation is, let's get the dirt off that has adhered to that factory coating that's turned everything black and ugly looking. Because these cars are largely, 25 years ago, nobody had a 4-post lift in their garage. And so they bought these beautiful cars like this car and brought it home and enjoyed it. Well, now they bring it home, it's like, oh, I got 2 lifts in my garage. They put it up in the air and they look underneath and it's like, it's not so awesome. And so we're giving them that flexibility with this process. And I just think it's important to remember that, what is it? See, this is the 58-year-old memory you don't want to have. Michael, what's the coating that we put on the top side of the cars now? Ceramic coatings. Trust me, in the 70s and 80s, there were no ceramic coatings being put on cars for any amount of money. So everything's an evolution. The technology is better in every way, and so the products are better, and so it's not a problem for us to manage and deal with this. So I'll get back to work. We're going to go ahead and do the fine detail here, and then we're going to go ahead and do some handwork, and you're going to see pretty much the start to finish transition of this side of the car. It's not unusual for these nozzles to have a buildup right where the ice exits. So I just usually knock that off. That way it doesn't disrupt my flow. might notice me doing some unique calisthenics here. There's a fabric pad that I'm trying not to overspray onto, so it's causing me to be a little more particular and careful and slow. That's another reason why I'm using the precision gun. We are going to make an attempt. We can try it right now. I'm going to try to clean that pad. I've had mixed success with that. Sometimes it will tear the material up. We do a lot of cloths and rugs and materials, but you just never really know until you get into one. So I'm going to start really light and see what kind of effect it has, if it's going to be a positive effect or not. So I'm virtually at the lowest settings. So from a distance, I'm going to see how this works out. This is the material that we're going to try to clean. Let's see what happens here. Highly experimental. And so when you're first trying stuff like this, you have to remember that the cloth holds the dry ice and it turns white, and you have to wait for that to sublimate away or help it just by blowing a little air on it. And I don't want to get overly excited here, but we're having some success. And it's probably one of the polite points that I would like to make. There is no other process that will allow you to remove cosmoline from fabric without ruining the fabric. I've even removed 40-year-old glue from headliner material on the back side without damaging the headliner. I just don't know any other way that that's possible. I've tried all kinds of things throughout my career. I know this is working because there's a plastic nut and washer holding that material on, and these settings effectively remove the cosmoline from that plastic, so I can see it coming off the fabric too. So hopefully Mike can capture it. It's pretty tricky, but I'm going to keep working here. Got 90% of it. There's some stubborn areas. I'm going to leave it alone for now, go back to doing my other detail work. We'll come back to it and look at it later and see what we think. So that's factory black right here. We don't want to take that off. That's supposed to be there. All right, we're going with really low settings here. It's a little unnerving to do this because I don't want the sticker to go away. So you can see it starting to appear. So it's just being careful. Well, I'd really like to get just a little more, but there's some very small edges. If you could zoom in close on it, Mike, and catch it, you'll see some really small edges around there that are deteriorating. They're going away. I'm probably about as far as I want to go. Yeah, that's as far, so I'll do the rest by hand. So now I'm going to turn it up a little bit, and then I'm going to go just off of the edge, away from it, and clean the area around it. So now you know, okay, I've got the sticker preserved, but I got this cloth, I got the sticker. Now I have things that I gotta watch out for in my overspray. I don't wanna just go crazy and forget that that stuff's behind me wherever I'm working. So from here, it gets tricky. I'm gonna go out here in the safe zone for a while and relax. So as this buildup occurs on this tip, it actually has an odd effect. It causes the nozzle to be forced left or right a little, and you can kind of lose control. So if you're working around something delicate, you got to stop and just clean off that. Switch nozzles. I think it can be more effective with my smaller nozzle. Keep playing with it until I get it. All right, so we want to be careful here. So there should be some color, a black or techno-violet, or we should have some color. Yep, there's techno-violet right there. So we want to be real careful. I want to clean this lip, but I don't want to take that techno-violet off there. So I'm going to turn down my settings a little bit. Let's see if we can clean that up a little. Okay, so now it gets real. There is purple along this leading edge. There's also some dirt, so I gotta get the dirt off, but not take the purple off. So both this face and, not surprisingly, the face of that seam has got a little purple on it. Wish me luck. I gotta have the mat. I can't see. Really gotta see on this one. All right, though this could get kind of boring for y'all to watch because it's just me being like uber picky and trying to get off big material or material that's got to come off before I hand work it. So I'm going to call that for the moment. I'm going to leave that alone. I'm going to finish this up, and then we're going to do some hand work and show you what can happen. Okay, so we're going to see if we can get some uniformity here and clean up, make some of these areas look a little more consistent. This is my general cleaner, favorite general cleaner with the white eraser. So that's what we're looking for. You know, now that we've got all of the contaminants. So here's a tough spot here. Let's see. See, there's just a little film left on there that the machine, you can work on it, but why risk taking off material or color when we can just wipe it off by hand? And I mean, I'll tell you, it's not hard to see why I kind of enjoy this part.
That's crazy.
Isn't it? Yeah. I'm anxious to see if somebody I've come to know recently decides to get down underneath here and put a fine polish on the underside of the rocker panels. Now when you do this, which I have that experience right now, there's a little residue in there of my cleaner, and typically that'd be kind of a problem. You can't get in there to clean it, but we've got the tool to do that. So once we're happy with what we've done here, and this is where I go off the rails. I'm sorry. Well, I'm not going to apologize. I don't care what you think of me, because I'm just me. Because it's like right there, I'm not going to pass and not do that. You see how I appropriately let the fan take all the overspray out before I stuck my face in there to breathe it? Oh. What's that McDonald's slogan? What is it, Michael? I'm loving it. What I'm using is, it's a rebranded product. It used to be called Wesley's Bleach White Wall Cleaner. I've been using it for 40 years. Well, not this actual bottle, come on. But it's now Black Magic. Evidently they sold out to Black Magic. And it's just a fabulous all-around cleaner. All right, let's see how we did with our preservation of purple here. Get that blended in a little bit there. You have to, well, some of you have to see how this gets very addictive. I mean, it's just, I mean, look. And now we're going back here. The snickers that you hear are not other people, it's Michael, because he tried to do this with his car and it didn't work out so well, did it, Mike?
And he's like, dang, if I would have had... It's what I've said since the last 2 years I've been doing this. Thinking about the Kenworth truck that I used to clean over the weekend, the New Holland combine, and the Minneapolis Moline tractor, and Chris Craft's boat, and all the stuff that I cleaned through the years. The hard way, the old way. This, for cleaning therapy, this is as good as it gets.
The magic is in the handwork.
Well,
Because it's like,
it's where everything appears, right? Yeah, and it's, you just can't single pass it and then do this, and you can't make this look like this with the machine only. Yeah, you gotta earn it. It's the prep to get to here. And the beauty is you have the confidence that you're not gonna run into a piece of tar or a stone or some, roadkill that could scratch your surface and jack it all up. And then the other part of this too that you don't think about necessarily is if a client wants to get under here and be worse than me, they can. Look at purple. We got purple. I love it. Yeah, so I just like desperately want to get the buffer out. What are those things called? The rupee? Is that what they are? The rupee, the little polishers?
oh, Rubex, yeah.
If I had one of those, that's what I'd want to do next. I'd want to get under here and do these. Yeah, so you can see what we're doing here. You know what we did with the exhaust. If you don't, then go back and watch the second episode, or third, or whatever it was, and then you'll know that when the rest of this exhaust looks like that, you know what happened. And it's just about to the point now where I'm gonna finish this thing out, put in the rest of the time, and then we'll get Matt over here and see if we met his approval or not. So, here's hoping. Yeah, well, no smart aleck comments. Keep them to yourself. Just suffer through it. This is Cosmoline. You can't take a chemical without risking hurting the sticker. And I can't go this way because I don't want to scratch the aluminum, make it look different. So it's going to take me a few minutes. Just go along here and knock off this Cosmoline right up next to the sticker.
This is the equivalent of Matt denibbing his tires.
Yeah, it probably is that bad. This is the stuff that I cannot let Deborah see. It's like you gotta hold your mouth right, you gotta breathe right. Then I'll have to come in and, oh man, like, I think that's a little dirt right there. Yeah, the persons that think this all can be done with traditional methods of pressure washers or air, can't do it. I gotta get the rondelle cleaned off. Can't see it.